Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about something a little not as related to VSLs, but we're going to be talking about something a bit more general, what you need for a business. So I'm going to do this unbiased. I know I'm the owner of a VSL agency, but I have friends who do website development, AI automation, lead generation, etc., all that jazz. And I'm going to stay as unbiased as possible. So without further ado, let's talk about how you're supposed to sell as a business, okay? So why do you want so the process of selling isn't just forcing someone to buy something, right? So personally, I like to split my own selling into around five parts, okay? First part, you have to create value. This is your this is your product. This is your product, and if your product's bad, then you can't sell. All right. After you create value, you have to find leads, find customers, right? And the thing with customers and leads is that you can't just randomly find some random 80-year-old off the street. You actually have to do outreach or content engagement. So personally, I like to separate this into three categories. Warm outreach, which is family, friends, etc. And then cold outreach, which is like cold DMs, calls, emails, etc. And then content, which is engagement. Basically, warm outreach, family, friends, etc. Pretty self-explanatory. You go out, you go to your family, you go to your friends. They already know you as a person, and so they're going to trust you more. Trust better trust. Okay, and then the thing with cold outreach is that they don't have trust. They don't trust you as much, but bigger volume, right? And cold outreach is most people's go-to. And then for content is where you put out a piece of content like a YouTube video, an Instagram post, a LinkedIn post, and people come to you. So this requires a big following. So personally, I'd recommend warm outreach first, then cold outreach, and then you focus 80% of your attention on this. So first of all, this should be your first few leads, right? Then after this, cold outreach, this should be 80% of what you want to do. Then after that, you can spend a little bit of time on content each week so that with content you can also build authority since people can see your shit and slow scales consistently but slowly. Okay. If you want to only do content, you're not a business guy. You're a content creator. Okay. So this is what I personally recommend. Then after that, you're going to have to explain the value. This is your pitch, your website, the content, the actual content of the content. Here, this is talking about like the follower counts, how many people saw your stuff. This is about what's actually the stuff that you post. So if you're a VSL agency like me and I posted about uh, jump roping, then that wouldn't be good, right? Explain the value, the content, and then VSL, obviously. So within content, it's not just YouTube, right? There's YouTube, there's videos, but also there's blog posts, there's email newsletters, ads, etc., right? And inside of the ads, inside of the YouTube videos, you need actual content to explain your value. Then after that, you have to authority, I can make them trust you. This is what you do with testimonials or a VSL or a sales call. And here, this is the part that some people struggle with, so that's why you start with warm outreach. Because if you can get, since they already trust you, then you can get your first testimonial, and then your first testimonial, which is your family or friend, will have strangers trust you. Okay? Then after that, you have to justify the price. If you're gonna do this for free, skip that step. But you're not a business, you're a charity, right? And this will be the deals, sales, skills, urgency, stuff like that, right? And there's this goal, and to summarize all these three, here's the golden formula. Trust times value equals your price. So let's say, and for context, 0.4, if you have a high trust, you can do 0.5. That's a really high trust rate. So, and let's say you can bring in $2,000 for your clients. So if you plug that into the formula, you get $1,000. You should charge $1,000. Let's try this with another example. Let's say you can make them $1 million, but then let's say you can make them $1 million, right? But they don't trust you. The low trust would be like 0.1%. So there's like a 1% chance you can make it, and you times that by $1 million. Then you should charge around $10,000 for that. So that's basically the formula. And if you can guarantee that you can make people, okay, there's no such thing as a real guarantee, right? So a guarantee is like 0.9%. You can guarantee to make them $10,000, you should charge around $9,000. But you're never going to do this because 0.9 is really high. 0.5 is already a really high trust value. If you're beginning, you should fall around the 20, 0.2 to 0.3 range, something like this. If you're not in this range, then you need some work to do. So that's the introduction. We're going to be talking. So let's start with creating value, right? You want to create value. So, okay. You want to create value. So how do you know if the value is the problem? Well, honestly, you don't. But here's a few things that you can do to see if your product is the problem. First of all, you need to think of the customers buying your product. A good rule of thumb is that the customer should always be rich, right? So let's say you're selling a premium marketing agency. You're a marketing agency, okay? Your customers are businesses. Customers, let's format this a little more clearly. Customers are businesses that make 10K per month. That means you can easily charge 2K per month because obviously they have 10K a month to spend. 2K a month doesn't seem that bad if you can deliver on your value, right? And the problem you're solving, that's the second part. The problem you're solving is not enough money, right? So now let's compare that to mowing a lawn. Your customers, neighbors, let's say they make around the median income. Let's say 12K a month. Not 12K. I am sorry about that. Around 6K a month, right? That's that's like higher medium income. Okay, let's assume that. And they so that means and the problem you're solving is a bad lawn, an ugly lawn. Do you think they're going to willingly give you a $2,000 a month just to make their lawn look better? Of course not, right? We do anything for money, like a marketing agency, but we don't give two fucks about our lawn. We give one fuck, but if you want us to give two fucks, we don't care, right? So the most you can probably charge for 6K a month, maybe you can charge like what, $20 a week, less $20 a week. Let's say like $80 a month, something like that. Obviously, that's not good. Or let's go to a last problem is that the problem isn't widespread enough. What do I mean by that? Let's say you have a high quality product that solves a severe problem that from rich people. Let's say your a problem that rich people face is that they can't access their bank account, right? So you do bank account recovery. If a rich person, so your customers can be millionaires, etc., right? And the problem is that they can't access their money. That's a huge problem. But how much do you realistically think, how many millionaires do you realistically think can't access their money? Probably not a lot, right? So that means probably out of 1,000 millionaires, you can only find one. And they might pay you 5,000 for it. So you have to do 1,000 outreach just for $5,000. Of course, if you're able to do that, that's great. But and also these numbers are probably not exaggerated enough. I'm just giving an example. Honestly, I think the number should be closer to 1 in 10,000 millionaires that can't access their money. And so like that's that. So in short, first of all, your product has to, of course, be able to solve the problem. Then yeah, the problem has to be severe. The problem has to be widespread among rich people. Of course, you're gonna be like, what about Facebook? What about these $2 apps or like fucking DoorDash that make like $2 off each order? You're not going to make the next DoorDash. I'd rather you probably start like an agency or something because the chances of you making the next DoorDash or Uber or Facebook or Starbucks, that's very small. Unless you want to take that risk, of course. And if you want to take that risk, of course, the best way to do that isn't starting that immediately. The best way to do that is starting a boring business that makes you money, and then after it makes you money, you're going to be able to invest that money into a better business. So today I was honestly going to talk more about finding leads. I was going to talk about finding leads today, but it seems like I ran out of time. So if I go any longer, it's going to be half an hour. I don't want to make a video that long. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.